Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
This is the Closing Bell on the Stock Movers Report. The companies making moves at the close of U.S. trading with Carol Massar, Tim Stenovec, Romaine Bostick, and Scarlett Fu.
All right, so let's get to the S&P 500, folks. Now that we are at the close, in terms of the market averages, Christine, we're looking at more names actually higher today. It wasn't that way earlier in the session. 389 names in the S&P 500 gaining ground on this Friday. 112 to the downside, 2 unchanged.
Well, Carol, I'm looking at the sectors again that have led us and lagged us in this equity session. I mentioned earlier, infra tech, of course, biggest loser today. But, you know, the biggest winners, energy sector. Look at that. So that is up, currently being led by Exxon. We're all seeing, of course, oil prices up today. So, you know, that's kind of helping cushion some of those declines in the S&P 500 that we're seeing earlier. And again, as Carl mentioned, you know, we've paired some of those losses already because of potential hope that we might see the beginning of the end of the shutdown if we do, in fact, see our lawmakers grabbing some martinis somewhere in D.C. this weekend.
Yes. One can hope.
What are the odds?
Something like that, right? All right, so we can keep our fingers crossed. Hey, so a lot of green. So let's get to some of the individual gainers. Got to mention Expedia. It's your number one gainer in the S&P 500. The stock finishing with a rise of about 17.5%. It is now up about 40% year to date. The company raising its full year gross bookings and revenue outlook. It signaled that strong travel trends are continuing into the holiday quarter. So revenue this year now expected to increase 6.5% at the midpoint. Gross bookings are expected to grow 7%. That's both ahead of estimates and Expedia's previous guidance. I should point out the outlook does not take into account the U.S. government shutdown, and the company has yet to see an impact just over a month in, according to the company's CEO. All right, over to Monster Beverage we go. This one, number two gainer in the NASDAQ 100, a gain of 5.2% here after the energy drinks company's third quarter results topped expectations. Analysts pretty positive about the company's gross margins and sales following the recent price hikes. And this one, too, is up about 32% here in 2025. And one more for you. We're talking about Top Golf Callaway. That one up about 14.3%. Wow. Yeah, right? I guess people are golfing.
Yeah, I guess.
Remember, we thought
it got revived during the pandemic, and it has been building on that since.
Exactly. So again, a good number here. The company came out, boosted its net revenue guidance for the full year as football fans took some extra time out for golf. Glad to hear that's happening. The company expects annual revenue of $3.92 billion at the midpoint. That's up from the previous expected $3.86 billion. This was also above Wall Street's estimate of $3.89 billion. Stock up more than 30% year to date. About 10% of the float is short. But I've got to say, that's kind of how I grew up. My family went from golfing to football. Golfing to football.
It's good to get up from the couch every once in a while.
Yeah,
practice
exactly.
swing.
They did go out and play a lot of golf. I should say that. So they at least did get off the couch on that one.
Hey, you got the gainers. I got the decliners today. I want to start with shares of the meat processing company, JBS, falling 3.64%. Shares just dove late in the trading session at about 3:38 p.m. This after the president said in a social media post that he's told the Justice Department to probe meatpacking companies. Here's what the president said in part, quote, "I've asked the DOJ to immediately begin an investigation into the meatpacking companies who are driving up the price of beef through illicit collusion, price fixing, and price manipulation. We will always protect our American ranchers, and they are being blamed for what is being done by majority foreign-owned meat packers," end quote, in part. He goes on to say more. We should note there are a host of reasons why beef prices in the United States have gone up. We've typically imported quite a bit from Brazil, but then tariffs on Brazil helped put an end to that. We were hoping, well, the U.S. was hoping to import from Argentina as well, but that's politically difficult when it affects the price of beef for American ranchers, many of whom did support the president in his last election. Once again, shares of JBS down 3.6%. We'll continue following this story. Also among the worst performers in the S&P 500 on a percentage basis, shares of the company formerly known as Square, now called Block, down 7.7%. The company did raise its full-year profit forecast and posted strong growth in consumer banking, though its third quarter revenues fell short of Wall Street's estimates. The company added 300,000 new primary banking users in the quarter, and the number of monthly active users in the Cash App ticked up slightly to 58 million. Also, finally, Sweetgreen shares hitting a record low today. down 7.5%. The restaurant chain cut its revenue guidance for the full year. It missed the average analyst estimate. Red Brown, a consumer reporter for Bloomberg News, has a great piece out on the terminal today. I encourage everybody to go read it. It's about how the pricey menu add-ons that were added over the last few months have misfired. The Ripple fries that were made with hand-cut potatoes and air-fried in avocado oil were removed from the menu just after 5 months due to being too complicated to make, and they were not popular.
Isn't Ripple a really bad
with
drink?
Consumers. Huh?
Isn't Ripple a really bad drink?
I don't know the drink.
I think so. All right.
Okay.
Sweetgreen and fries just are a strange mix overall, you know?
Weird.
All right, quick glance at yields. You could see little change right now. They were up, they were down, they're up again, and now they're kind of, they're just all over the place. But we do have a big week in terms of issuance next week. $150 billion of 3s, 10s, and 30s, which will be shortened next week because of Veterans Day. So there's a lot of supply to absorb next week. Just something to keep in mind here because there's no official data that we're dealing with right now. We also have headlines coming out with Israel's outlook revised to stable from negative by S&P. And so if you look at the Israeli shekel, the dollar sinking to its session lows versus that currency. So the shekel is at its session highs in terms of strength. The dollar is at its session lows versus the shekel. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that. Carol?
Thank you so much, Scarlett. Hey, let's get to some stories that definitely have caught our attention. So as we are in the longest government shutdown, 38 days and counting, we'll see whether or not, like we did see some movement today, but we'll see whether or not it comes to an end sooner rather than later. We are looking at different statistics to figure out what's going on in the economy. And here's an interesting story. A slump in cardboard box sales, stoking fears of weak holiday retail shopping season. U.S. corrugated box shipments fell to the lowest third quarter reading since 2015. This is according to data from the Fiber Box Association. Yes, there is one. Packaging companies have warned that economic uncertainty is weighing on retailers and consumers, with box plants reporting, Tim, flat or below normal orders in the month of October.
Yeah, so shipments of corrugated cardboard can serve as a demand indicator for food and consumer goods. This time of year, though, critical for the box industry because shipments typically peak in October as retailers prepare for the holidays, so it gives us a good idea of, or potentially could give us a good idea of, what demand could look like in the holiday season.
The Stock Movers Report from Bloomberg Radio. Check back with us throughout the day for the latest roundup of companies making news on Wall Street. And for the latest market-moving headlines, listen to Bloomberg Radio live. Catch us on YouTube, Bloomberg.com, and on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app.